let's get to it. Hang with Beat Drop podcast. We are in episode 98. And I have Estefania, aka Nia. What up?
I know what's up.
I'm so excited to have you on the pod. We've been trying to like lock it in, you know what I'm saying? But it's
I
been like
know.
the scheduling has been back and forth. But I'm excited that you're on now. We were talking some good stuff, and I was like, yo, Steph's dropping jams. We gotta hit record. You feel me?
I know. Shoot. I already forgot what I said.
I know. We gotta like refresh it now, you know. But Steph, how you doing? For the people that are listening, like I know we kind of, like I said, we would chop it up before, but like, how are you? Like, what's up? What's cracking? You know?
Yeah. Well, I'm here. I'm alive. I'm healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And like every day it's just a brand new day. So here
Yeah.
I am trying to put my best foot forward, trying to have the best attitude out here when the
Yeah.
world tries to knock you down.
No, I hear that. So the last time, like we did the episode part one, it was
Mhm.
2019. So a lot has that's been a long time.
A
You know what I
lot
mean?
has changed. Yes.
Did you already change your name to Nia at that point, or were you still kind of rocking with Estefania?
You know, I can't even tell you a timeline. I think at one point I was just like, boom, it's
Yeah.
just Nia,
Yeah.
Nia, Padilla, cut off, 3/3 of my or like 3/4 of my name.
Yeah.
But I mean, the real ones will always know me as Estefania or
Yeah.
Steph. But Nia just kind of has like its own ring to it. Like when I
does.
say Nia Padilla, even for marketing reasons, it like pops up
Yeah.
super quickly on social media. So it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
right. And I'm like, it's like my stage name. And
Yeah.
it kind of it birthed a whole new persona that I was able to,
Yeah.
roll with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably like 2019 when I was like going through that. I was like discovering,
Yeah.
I really felt like, shedding, some skin and then like growing new skin,
Yeah.
that's really what it was. So I've been doing that, because especially since the pandemic, I started going really focused into the Nia Padilla stuff and
Yeah.
really exploring Spanish music and like my own vibe, my own little twist
Yeah.
on things. So it's been really, really fun. And like, I'm still writing and creating. And
Yeah.
of course, like anything else, like your music is your business. So
Yeah.
it takes time to build, but I'm really excited. I have a lot of new music that I've been working on. And
Yeah.
now that I'm like doing shows again, it's like, I feel like there's this new spark that has
Right.
ignited in me that it's been a while.
Yeah, that's dope. And then like when you went from Nia, was it a little different? like saying like, "Hi, I'm Nia." Like, was that a little
Oh,
like
yeah.
transition? That's weird, right? Like you're just like,
yeah. It was always just like anything. Like your name is important,
Yeah.
It's and the difference between when I introduced myself as Estefania to Nia was just like day and night. Like, and sometimes I'll pick and choose how I want to introduce myself.
Right.
I'll say like, oh, like, hi, my name's Estefania, but you can call me Nia, right? If
Right.
some people like can't say it or they butcher it, I was like, it's okay. I'll save the time. My name's Nia, right? And it's the last thing I say when I say Estefania. So I was
Yeah.
like, it works. We can work with that.
Yeah, no, that's dope. And then I'm actually thinking, I feel like I actually saw you one more time before the pandemic, and I think you had a show. If I'm not mistaken, I think you had a show. I don't know if it was like West Hollywood. I don't know if maybe it was before, but
Was that the Peppermint Club?
Peppermint Club. Yes.
Oh yes, that was
Yes.
October 2019 was
Yeah.
my last show with One Step Closer.
Yeah. Now
I remember that.
yeah. Now I'm like,
Oh,
yo,
yeah, you
like,
did
yeah,
show us.
yeah. I'm like, now that
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm like, wait, I remember you had that show, and I was like, yo, that was probably the last time that we kind of like saw it. Well, I don't think we chopped it up because obviously you were doing your thing, but like that was the last time I think I saw you in person. And that was like towards the end of 2019. But like you said, a lot has changed, top of 2020, pandemic. I'm very interested to know like a lot of things about how your process went through all that. You know what I mean? Because I know that we kind of were chopping up a little before about the job that you do besides music, So what exactly would you say you like is like your quote unquote title? Like, cause I don't really, you know what I mean? Like what you know what I mean? Like what would be like the title of like the job you have? You know what I mean? Like what do you think it would be?
So my official job title
Yeah.
is recreation coordinator for the city of LA. So
Okay.
rec and parks. So
Okay.
that's my department. So it's actually really funny. I cannot watch the show Parks and
Parks and
Rec
Recs. Why
because
not? Why
it's
not?
like it's too close to comfort. Like I'm just like, oh shit. Like people be laughing at the show, but I'm like, this shit happens in real
Yeah,
life.
you're like,
Like
no, this
all the
shit's
time.
for real.
This is for real. Like like that is my life.
Yeah, that's
So it's been
awesome.
really fun. Like because I
Yeah,
work for like Parks and Rec or Rec and Parks. That's
yeah,
how you're supposed to say it.
yeah,
I just got stories,
yeah,
like I deal with people like from all over the world, from different walks of life, which has been really awesome.
yeah,
But then once the pandemic hit, like,
yeah.
public life was like done. So
Right,
it was literally like dead. And so that was crazy because like my job shifted. And because I work for the city, you have to assume position. And because a pandemic is like a state of emergency. So when
right.
LA said that we're in a state of emergency, like at one point my job title was like disaster service worker. And I was like, oh shit.
Wow.
Like
Yeah,
when everything hit, and I remember we were like changing our rec centers into like shelters with the cots and everything.
yeah,
And we all had to like literally be suited up with like PPEs everywhere
yeah.
and like sanitizing. It was scary because no
Right,
one had any idea what was to come. We just knew
right.
that there was a virus. It was coming and it was coming to get us.
Yeah,
And we just had to react because we had to work, right? And
yeah,
we had
yeah,
so our job titles definitely changed. And I was at one point managing a childcare emergency center. I was then managing homeless shelters, and then I was doing summer social distancing camps, and then I
yeah.
did an alternative learning site. So it's like every season changed depending on the needs of the community. And
Right.
so literally from March 2020, when everything was shutting down, I remember I was like, well, all my live gigs, everything's done. So
Right.
I needed a full-time job. So I applied and I ended up getting it, and I was like, oh shit, like I was always part-time, but then I
Yeah.
became full-time.
Yeah.
And
Full go.
that was like full on go. And like I said earlier, like of course I took pride in what I was doing because it was important. This was
Right.
a very historic time in history in LA, and we were just not prepared. And so a
Yeah.
lot of what we were doing was just figure it out as we go. And
Yeah.
that was just, once again, like our motto was adapt and modify, because
Yeah.
everything, like when we played games, it's like everything had to be like 6 feet apart. Like how do you tell kids to stay 6 feet apart, put your mask on the entire time? Like
Yeah.
it was so hard, but the kids
Yeah.
understood. Like
Right.
kids are very smart, and
Yeah.
if you give them the right reasonings, like they will listen. And I
Yeah.
think that was really, really fun to create that space for the kids, especially during summer when they're also completely lost and they're like, what's going on, and scared,
Yeah.
right? So that I felt really prideful for what I was doing, because I knew that I was making a direct impact on my community, and of course the kids, and
Yeah.
like making sure that they were having a smooth transition
Hmm.
to whatever they were going through, right? And just to
Right.
kind of give them that safe space to play, to not worry about
Yeah.
everything else that's going on in the world.
Yeah, that's so good. Like, how did you feel you were able to like overcome? Because I'm sure that was pretty heavy for you just as a person,
Oh,
just
yeah.
as an individual, like for someone who does music, were you able to work in music during that time? Or do you feel like just everything that was happening was just so heavy?
Well, the only gigs that I had during 2020 were funerals.
Right.
So it was unfortunate, but yeah, it was really sad. Like,
Wow.
and once again, it reminded me the power of music, and
Yeah.
how, like, I think and that's just personally my opinion, but like the saddest thing I can possibly experience is a funeral with no music.
Yeah.
So, when I got asked to sing, of course, I'm gonna say yes,
Yeah.
and like and that had been like my first gig
Right.
throughout the
Right.
entire time. And, it just reminded me once again, like how powerful music is you know, and not only as an art form, but like as humans, like we need it to heal.
Yeah.
We completely need to heal. And I feel like a lot of singer-songwriters who were hurting throughout the pandemic, who
Right.
didn't have their outlet of performance, were like recluse themselves and, you know, it kind of felt like they lost their purpose a bit. Like I definitely lost my purpose because I was performing like 2-3 times a week. Like it's out about, like, for me, it's like, you are what you do. So when I wasn't doing it, I was like, who am I? What am I doing?
Yeah. So true. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
so that once again, like, just reminded me, I'm like, okay, like I'm still here. Music is still very much part of my life. Cause I did give it, like, I gave it a break, you know. I think during 2020, I really just focused on my full-time job and kind of just being 100% present in that. But of course, like, I was always thinking about music and, you know, these kids, it's just always so inspiring. And I worked a lot with the homeless and seeing where they came from and, you know, the haves and have nots and, you know, even just like dignity, you know, talking about, it was just so much. So yeah, my heart definitely was heavy. And I feel like it still is heavy because I'm still in the middle of it all. And so, like, you know, when, you know, now that I'm like doing my own thing with music, of course, like I use it as my own outlet. You know, I've been writing songs too. I have, you know, I got together. The cool thing about the pandemic is that I really got close with my roommates too. And we wrote about all our feelings and put them into songs. So we definitely took our pain and hurt and we just converted it into song or like some other, you know, musical form that just satisfied the release that I needed that I wasn't getting from like live performances. You know?
Yeah, that's so good. Like, you know, being that you were being around like homeless people, you know, like man, I'm just thinking like that is a lot, you know, like just being around that and just not knowing what's gonna happen, you know, for months to come, you know, because in the beginning, you know, everybody was saying that it was gonna be like 2 weeks, you know, the pandemic, right? But for you as an artist, you know, as a creative, like, was there a point for you where you were like, whoa, like am I gonna continue doing music? Like, were you kind of like not knowing like how long this break was gonna take, and were you kind of like, hey, you know, I have a full-time job, right? Like this is kind of what I'm doing. Were you like in a sense of being like, how long is this music break gonna take, or were you just kind of like, you know what, like I can't think that far ahead, you know?
I think it was a little bit of both. I
Right.
definitely felt especially at the very beginning of the pandemic, I was just like, well, you know, at least I have a job right now that's
Right.
giving me stability that I was just focused on. And for me, like, music is just always going to be in my life.
Right.
Like, because I've just always done music, like, even not even professional, like I didn't even study music. Like I studied communication, performance, and psychology. So like
Right.
even my full-time job, like I am using my degree, but like music is my interpretation of my life, you know. It's just like that's my form of expression, you know. So I knew that it was always going to be in my life somehow. However, also with the pandemic, like I was just able to just focus on me and really just be like, okay, so like what's the next step, you know. It's like, what's the move, what do I want from music? And so I definitely became more introspective and focused in on like my own vibe, what I wanted to bring to my music that would spark up once again that feeling that I had when I was like in other bands or in other, you know, groups. So it was, I never wanted to give up on that. I don't think that was ever like an idea in my head. Of course, I knew it was going to be hard, and I was like, shit, like I'm starting all over again. Like really, like from the ground up. But I, you know, one of my favorite phrases too. It's like, you know, I'd rather be at the bottom of a ladder I want to climb than at the top of one that I never wanted to be at anyways, you know? So
Hey, that's a bar, Nia. Damn.
and it's just true. It's just like, like you know, I'm starting back at, you know, at one, you know, back at step one, but like, I have this whole other adventure that I get to experience. Right. So, you know, I never in my life thought that I would kind of pursue my own kind of solo career or even have the opportunity to do Spanish music, but it kind of just fell into my lap, and it the opportunity presented itself, so I took it.
Yeah.
And especially, you know, singing in Spanish is just otra cosa, you know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
like I just no filters, you know. And I think the
Yeah.
fun thing too is just it brings me closer, obviously, to my culture
Right.
and to my roots. And Spanish also has a beautiful way of expressing in the words that it's just so poetic. And so I
Right.
always loved Spanish music. So now that
Yeah.
I'm able to contribute to the community of Spanish music, I'm just like,
Right.
okay, like I found a new type of purpose.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Like, and it sounds like you talk to yourself like good, right? Like I know we were telling you know each other before, like it's all about balance, right? But you know, the way you speak, it's like I feel like you have to speak to yourself like that, right? In
You
order
have
to
to.
just have take it a day at a time, you know. But like, what do you do for self-love? For you know what I mean? Like what do you feel that you tell yourself? Do you feel like every day, whether it's like a habit, I don't know, like journaling, like what is it that you do for yourself that allows you to move forward with such like positivity, you know?
Yeah. I think I was just having that conversation with myself the other day, you
Right.
know, and just having quiet moments to myself. Like
Right.
sometimes I'll just take a drive and like in silence. Like I like
Yeah.
being silent in my thoughts. And because I come from like such a big family
Right.
and I'm always like with other people, I
Yeah.
kind of felt like I needed to like it's rare for me to be absolutely by myself or
Yeah.
like spend the night by myself. I'm just like,
Mm.
oh, like what do I do with myself? But then I
Right. Right.
realized once I'm with myself, I'm like, this is fun. Like I get to do whatever I want, right?
Yeah.
Treating
Yeah.
myself, what else, you know,
Yeah.
like I like to stretch a lot. Like,
Yeah.
dude, like waking up in the morning and stretching, falling asleep, like stretching right before you fall asleep is just
Right.
like for your muscles, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, I've been doing that. Not much yoga because I feel like I'm not there yet, but
Like I need to stretch a little bit
like,
more.
yeah, I try to like because I work at a rec center, you know, just like I love playing soccer. So like even
Yeah.
just like when I'm frustrated, just taking the ball like as
Yeah.
hard as you can, like just
Yeah.
releasing that stress, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
No, that's
I
good.
mean that life is stressful and you got to find ways. Like that's why there's so many different activities for you to like exert yourself.
Yeah.
So
That's good. I
reading
think
too. I try to read more.
okay.
I would always want to read more. Still working on that, but
Right.
once again, having those quiet moments with myself, I think that I remind myself that I'm like, I'm here, I'm alive, I
Right.
have, you know, opportunity to, you know, be great
Right.
and do and affect others and you know, be that positive light that sometimes people need. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. Do you
But
feel like there's anything that you learned about yourself during the pandemic that you probably didn't know before? You know, is there any things you could share with us that you feel like, wow, like, man, like I didn't know that about myself or just people around me, you know?
so the cool thing too is right before the pandemic, literally like in February, I moved out for the very first time.
Oh, wow.
Like and yeah, so like as a Latina woman, like moving out like was a huge
Yeah.
deal, and it was like I got a lot of backlash for that. She's like, why do you want to spend money, save your money at home? And I was like, Mom, I want my independence. You know, like, like who
Right.
the fuck said freedom was free? No, it's not. No, it's not.
That's so good.
It's not.
You say, who the fuck
So
said that? Show me.
yeah. So, but you know, I worked hard for it, you know,
Right,
and
right.
that's why I'm like, I moved out. I wanted to have that creative freedom, and moving out with like my roommates was like such a blessing too. But because I moved out and lived with others who weren't my family, I realized that I'm like OCD.
Right.
Like, I'm definitely OCD.
Yeah.
Like if I like walk down my stairs and like on the shoe rack, if I see like a shoe like out of place, like I cannot walk past it without like fixing it. Like certain things, like I
Right.
have to do my bed like every single day, like
Yeah.
right. Like I have like everything has to be like perfect.
Right, right.
Or like I have like certain routines that like have to do, and if I don't do
Yeah.
them, like I can't sleep. And I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, why am I like that? And they're like, Steph, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I don't think I'm okay. Or like I'm a clean freak. I'm
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
like if I see something, I'm just like, I can't just like sit and relax. That's one
Yeah.
thing my roommates were like making fun of me. They're like, Steph, like relax, like
Yeah.
don't worry about it. I was like, no, I had to be talking, or like I'm cleaning. As I'm talking
Right.
to you, I'm like cleaning the kitchen or like whatever.
Yeah.
But That's definitely one thing I learned during quarantine is that I'm like slightly OCD. So,
Yeah,
but
that's
like in
good.
good ways, I have like good habits, but
Yeah,
like
I mean, you're
I need to
clean.
like
That's
relax.
good. It's good to be clean. You know, hygiene is always great. You know.
But especially during, pandemic, like I like sanitize and like disinfect like everything all the time.
Yeah.
Cause during work, like I was scared. I would literally like, they would be like, okay, like once you get home, you gotta take a shower because hot water also kills bacteria.
Yeah.
Or, the washing your hands once again for like 20 seconds. Like I will count. Like I will be like one,
You're like one
two,
Mississippi, two Mississippi.
3, 4, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
like ingrained in me. I'm
Right.
constantly getting like training videos from the city of LA of like, okay, new COVID protocols. I'm just like,
Yeah.
not again. It's like, everything's just like
Yeah.
changing, like temperature checks, like
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes me good at my job, so that's good.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's good. And then like, what do you feel made yourself make the decision to move out? Was it just something that you just felt it inside of you, or you were just like, yo, like I just
It
like you
was
said, I need
time.
my yeah, it was time.
It was time, and like I
Yeah,
always wanted, because I come from a very traditional Mexican household where what was
yeah,
expected of me was to move out when I got married,
right,
right? And because I stayed at home for college and I never really got that experience of just like being complete independent, that's
right.
really all I wanted.
Mm-hmm,
So when I had the opportunity, excuse me,
mm-hmm.
when I had the opportunity to be financially independent, and
Yeah,
I took it, and I was
yeah,
like, okay, with this, like I can literally, go home and like have my own space. Like I have my own little like studio in the
right.
corner there, and like I don't have to feel embarrassed to like have writing sessions with people like to come over to like my
Yeah.
place. Like, oh, it's my parents' house. Like, sorry,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so that I can just like bring friends over or like going out or like
Right.
I love my family, and but like I don't have to worry about like text about like donde estás.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like I can just like be free in my own independent
Right.
way.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
So
No,
it was,
no, that's perfect. And then,
yeah.
you saying that, you're very close with your family. Like I know that like the past few months, you've been traveling. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like how was that being able to travel, being the fact that you weren't able to travel for so long? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when you started traveling again, like how was that experience? How did that help you as a person, as a musician? Like how was all that for you, you know?
Well, of course, like I said, like during, the pandemic, it really took for granted our ability to just like, I'm gonna leave the country, right? Or like this,
Yeah.
like this
Hmm.
opportunity, or like the idea that we can just, if we don't like where we are, we can just literally just hop in a plane and go anywhere around the world,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, oh shit, because I feel like I had this conversation with a lot of my coworkers too, how they never took vacation time, or like they never took their sick
Mm,
time, or they never did any of that. They never traveled, right? Because they were just like so dedicated to work, right?
yeah.
So when I then had the opportunity to travel, I was like, I'm taking it. I'm leaving,
Yeah. I'm out.
I'm out.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I usually go to Mexico a couple times a year because I have family out there. So the
Yeah.
fact that I wasn't able to see a lot of family, missed a lot of weddings too, was like pretty sad. But when
Yeah.
I went to Mexico not too long ago because my family, they built a house over there. So
Wow.
we wanted to go, and that was like, our dream, nuestra ilusión.
Right.
So it was really amazing, and just kind of comforting to know that like I'm always now going to have a home there in
Right.
Mexico, so that way like my grandchildren will have a direct connection to their roots.
Yeah.
So that was just like, once again, like being proud, and going to all like the small towns, and
Yeah.
even just seeing like the poverty over there in Mexico, and just like in being super hyper aware of like your positioning in life, and like what you could do to, once again, I'm always like community oriented.
Right.
So I'm like, what I can do to help things better, make things better, even in the most smallest ways, right? And
Yeah.
just donating like clothes, or, even just like spending time with my, grandparents, and just like,
Right.
because my grandma too is on the older side, and you just never know. It's like my
Yeah.
grandpa too, like got COVID and got really, really bad, and survived, but like
Yeah.
he still says that he still has like this like cough, right? And I'm just
Right.
once
Right.
just realizing like, wow, I'm alive, I'm healthy, I can literally like no bad days, right? It's
Right, right,
like there's no time to waste, to be angry, to be mad, to like be hateful. It's like we have literally the entire world in our hands, you
right.
know, especially now with our phones. Like we literally do have the entire world like
Yeah,
in our hands. So it's just, it definitely gave me this whole shift in like meaning of life and meaning of purpose, and like what are you gonna do about it, you know?
right. No, yeah,
So
no, that's
that it
awesome.
always brings me back. So I love going to Mexico and spending time with my cousins. That's what, like last night, I had to, you know, my cousin here in Mexico, I, you know, had to take him out. But you know,
No,
it's
it's
just,
awesome.
yeah, it's great. It's tradition, it's culture, it's
Yeah,
culture.
yeah. No, no, that's awesome. Like, and you mentioned COVID, and it's, I'm glad, your grandfather, right, that
Mhm.
that he's okay, and I know that there was a time where even you were, offering like vaccines and stuff like that,
Mhm.
at your job. Like, was that did you feel like when you were doing that, that did a lot of people get vaccinated, by the way? Like, how was that? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
okay,
know, it's so funny because like
yeah,
my job was really just to get the word out.
right,
So I went like old fashioned. I was like, we're gonna get flyers and we're gonna put them at all the Vallartas, like
yeah,
literally all at everybody's cars. Like we're literally just went flyering and
yeah.
flyering. That's the word, right?
No, hey, no, hey,
Whatever.
yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So then I was like, people need to know that like this, because we had a lot of pop-up vaccine sites.
Right.
So, and I like low income areas. So I was, you know, in Canoga Park. And so there's a lot of like there's a lot of people who, you know, don't even have access to like healthcare or anything like that. So
Yeah.
a lot of people were just hesitant because they had a lot of lack of information about the vaccine. So
Yeah.
my job was really just like answering phone calls, like answering any questions people had about it, and then scheduling appointments. And yeah, we got like, I think the first day we
Yeah.
only had like 20 people come in. And then by the end of the week, we had like close to like 500, which
Oh,
was like,
wow.
yeah, which is really great.
Yeah.
Flyers really work. We got, it's really funny. I got yelled at by like security guards at Vallarta
Yeah.
because I'm not allowed to put flyers on like people's cars in
In a
like
parking lot?
parking lots. But I was
Yeah.
like, this is important. I was like, I don't care. So we got a lot of people like, hey, getting like calling. They're like, hey, I got a flyer in my car. Is this
Yeah.
true? And I was like, yes, it is. You can come anytime between 8 to 2, and
Yeah.
you know, doing that whole get up. But yeah, that was actually a really, really good success with just trying to get more information out, and you know, accurate information,
Yeah.
because I feel like during the same time it was like the whole thing with Johnson and Johnson, or like people
Yeah.
were like scared because like the blood clots and everything like that. So of course, like people are scared, and you
Yeah.
know, I think it's just doing more research on it. Like the
Right.
information is there, and like check your sources. Check
Right.
your sources.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. And I see that you're very vocal about that. You know what I mean? And like, do you feel that like it's very unfortunate that there's so many, like you said, the world is in our hands, with our phones. You know what I mean? So it's like, do you feel kind of like at a point also like, man, like there's so much stuff that you see and then you're like, you don't know what's true or what's not true, you
Oh,
know?
completely.
Yeah. So do you feel that, you being the fact that, and I see, obviously on Instagram that you're very vocal, you get vaccinated, the whole nine, like, do you get frustrated just seeing so much, false statements in a sense where you're just kind of like, man, like it's dangerous, right? Because, you
It
see
is.
something, I mean, like even it could be your parents see something on Facebook and then it could
Oh
be
yeah.
something that's so inaccurate and you're like, I don't know, mom, that doesn't seem real. But the fact that you said the world is on our hands.
So I think our issue is like we went from like being in a very informative era
Mm-hmm.
to now are like a disinformation, right? There's just
Mm-hmm.
like so much like malinformation. The malinformation, you
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, yeah, I got
um
it.
so yeah, it is hard. Sometimes I have to constantly question myself, and
Right.
I think the important mentality to have is like, this is true up to this point, right? It's just like,
Right.
until I find more information, viable information, then I will change my mind, right?
Yeah.
And like, I still have conversations with a lot of people who are anti-vax. And like, once again, I understand your body, your choice.
Right.
Your body, your choice. I get that.
Yeah.
However, if the information is right in front of you, it's also up to the individual to like critically analyze what's going to be best for you and your family and like your environment. And, you know, as long as the information is presented to you in the most comprehensive way, then, you know, at that point, it's like, live and let live. Like, you know, I know there's still a lot of people who I'm constantly like trying to explain the facts and the objectives of the vaccine, but a lot of people are scared, and that's okay too.
Right.
You know, there are other forms to protect yourself, of course. Like if you are depending on the vaccine itself to protect you from COVID, then that's probably not the right approach.
Right.
You know, you also, you know, there's diet, there's, you know, exercise, there's like other vitamins and nutrients that you can be consuming to help your body to give you those natural proteins that could help fight off any type of virus at that point. So yeah, I think it's really hard. I had, and that, not just that, I think it's because of the last year too, it was just everything was so politicized. So all information was like, what is real, what is not real. And all I could do was just like, well, according to my sources, this is what I believe to be true because I personally trust these sources. But of course, that's a personal opinion and everybody's entitled to their own, as long as it's not harming anybody else. So
no, that's well said.
That's,
no,
that's what I was like, I don't know what else to say, because I know it's a really touchy conversation, but yeah, I mean, a lot of times when, you know, I was doing the vaccines, the appointments, like I constantly got people who were like, why are you guys doing this? Like, you know, like it's not approved yet, it's too quick. And I'm like, I understand that. Get it. If you don't want it, don't get it. However, now it's becoming, you know, mandated and you know, at least we have like COVID tests going on every week. We're just trying, you know, it's like at this point, everyone's just like trying their best.
I mean, to kind of finish what you're saying, I think in the end of the day, you know, we just want people to be okay. You know, I think that's the ultimate goal, is we just want everybody to have good health. And, you know, I know it gets weird talking about these things, but I feel like at some point we do have to kind of speak on it in some way, you know, just to kind of be informed, you know, because, you know, I know before we started recording, you know, I will tell you, like, I was a person that never voted, you know, like I was like, you know, I didn't know so much of it, because all you hear was like, oh, your vote doesn't count, and, you know, all that stuff, you know. But being around people that were like, hey, kind of like, and me being like, okay, let me let my guard down, let me reshape my thinking and be like, okay, like I'm being taught this information, I should really take it in and be like, okay, I'm a vote, and you feel good making a decision like that, you know. So I know right now, you know, there's this whole thing. So if you could kind of explain it to us a little bit better with the whole the recall, right? Like, so what is that exactly? Because I'm not really as aware of what it is. So like, if you could kind of give me like a little breakdown of what's going on, you know, like what is it, you know?
And I will be honest, like I'm still getting more acquainted with more information. I just know that they're doing a re-election on the recall of, you know, the governor of California, right? So people don't like him. So people want to vote him out. And so just like anything else, like you got to do a majority vote. So that's why they're doing the recall. And I think a lot of people are nervous just because there are other people who have very strong beliefs who are in the running, right? And who are very, I mean, California has been known to just be democratic. So a lot of people on the running, you know, are not Democratic, they're Republican. And of course, like each platform has their values and their mores and everything like that. But I think it's what's been going on, at least what I'm noticing, is that we're definitely like backtracking a lot of our progress that we've been doing with like human rights and, you know, even women rights. Hello. You know, so it's definitely like a point in time where there's like a lot of pushback. And being a part of this re-election or this recall, will just give you, once again, it's like, well, I was a part of it. It's like, if things go right in the right direction, you're like, you can take pride in like, yeah, I participated,
Right.
like I was in that. And if things go to shit, well, you can be like, and if you didn't vote, you'd be like, oh, like I didn't try,
Right.
right? I didn't try to change things for the better or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are saying, like, I don't want to impose on anybody's
Right. Right.
beliefs, like, just go out to vote. And if you don't know, like, go to your nearest polling site and ask them about it and be like, hey, like, I don't really understand. Like, there are people there literally getting paid to answer the questions that you have.
Right.
You just have to ask. And I
Yeah.
think, and that's been a huge struggle, I feel like, with Americans, is that people just don't ask, they don't care. So as
Yeah.
long as you're caring, there's going to be someone on the other end giving you more clarification.
Right. And what do you think that is? What do you think, like you said, that is it, do you think we just don't want to know? Or what do you think, like, the reason we don't know? Like, what would you say is that reason where we're just not, are we just not well informed? Like, I'm trying to think of like, what's the best way to get into, even myself, there's, like I said, I'm not so aware, but now I'm like, okay, let me have this conversation. I'm talking to Nia, she knows more, so let me get information. So is
Yeah.
it, do you just think that we're just misinformed, or what would you say is one of the reasons, at least?
Well, I also just feel like one of the reasons, just like point blank, is just marketing and promotion. It's like,
Right.
what you see in front of you, always all the ads, is because there's like a big machine pushing so much money to show you those ads, right?
Right.
To
Right.
inform you about this stuff, right? And so a lot of campaigns don't have the funding for it, and I'm sure
Yeah.
there's the right information out there. It's just there's not much funding for it, so it's not in your face a lot.
Right.
However, if you're like if you're really passionate about politics or like local government, then
Hmm.
you will already know, right? Because you're
Yeah.
already looking for that information.
Right.
So I think, once again, it's just like people, because we're such an individualistic culture,
Mm.
it's everybody's just kind of like in their own world more
Right.
now, because we've been isolated and like quarantined, and we've kind of like that itself, and this self-isolation has now been like a part of our culture
Right.
for the last year and a half. People just like, well, out of sight, out of mind. you know
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
it's just
No,
so
it makes sense.
easy it's just so easy to just be like, oh, I didn't know about it, no one told me about it.
Mm.
Not like you're not being proactive
Right.
about searching for more information, seeing what's going on in your local community and in your local government, and like, because there's laws being passed a lot of the time, like, for
Right.
example, um but even with the going back to like the homelessness, like
Right.
it was really, really bad. I think LA has one of like that has a homeless crisis, and there are organizations out there trying to help, but at this point it's just we don't have enough housing yet. We're building housing,
Right.
but there's just so many people who need help, and not even that, it's just like they need like mental help, because like,
Right.
even in the communities that I worked in, like, we gave them everything. We gave them free vaccines. Like, do you want this? We can give you housing, but then they don't want it.
Right.
They just don't want it. So same
Yeah.
thing. You gotta want it. You gotta want to
Yeah.
know, you want the resources, because the help is out there.
Yeah.
It's just really depending on the individual to seek out that information.
Yeah. Man, that's so crazy, man. It's, that you mentioned mental health, and like you said, they don't want it. Like, at first it's sad to hear that, right? Because it's like, man, like, like we were saying, you wish people could just move up to a good place, so it's like mental health is something that I've been reading up on more, and just trying to be, more aware of how to take care of yourself as a person, like when you were doing all that like homeless stuff, were you like, when you were doing it, like, how did you move, how were you able to come home? Because that's the thing that I'm trying to really like lock in, and be like, that's really heavy, and I know we kind of, you answered the question as far as with music, but just you as a person, were you just kind of going like, what, like, one day at a time, in a sense, or how were you able to overcome that?
It definitely was hard to, leave these homeless shelters and then go back to like my nice home, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then like go back the next morning. And at that point, all I can say is just, it depends on like, the attitude. Cause I like, there would be some days that it felt heavier than others, but I have stories where, even with working with the homeless, like there were people there who just fell on bad times, who were just like, this is my first time homeless. Like, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. And like, we gave them food, like everything. And they were just like blessed, like amazing. And then there were other people who, same situation and complained, just like complained all the time. This is like literally just like looking at everything bad that's around, as opposed to the other guy literally in the same position looking at everything that's great. And like, depends. It's like, do you want to have a good day? Do you want to have a bad day? That depends on, how you start off your day in your mind. So, when I would talk to these homeless and like just kind of get like their backstories and like what happened, like, it's just like, it sucks because it kind of comes down to like how our society is even built, right? And like how we're not helping a very vulnerable population here in Los Angeles, and things need to be done. And that's why I got passionate about it, because I was just like, there's just not enough help being done, and new problems are arising because it's just like not everybody, like there's not jobs available, or like minimum wage is still not, can't let you afford a lot of other luxuries in life that like people out here who, have a lot. And then like, it was just, I think what the mind-boggling thing too is just, especially during the pandemic, was just seeing how there were people, especially like even in like business, it's like the billionaires were like becoming even more rich, right?
Right.
Everything was just like extreme. It's just like the poor was getting poorer, and then the rich was getting rich, and it was just like, oh shit, like what's going on? Are we like falling apart? Is our like societal structure falling apart? Because I think what makes a really, really good society, strong, is like our middle class, right? That there's like people who can work their way through, and like all those opportunities were being stripped, and like, I'm sure there were so many people in the shelters who were so capable, completely capable, but they just didn't have the resources. They weren't told, they weren't informed about the resources that they could have had. So that's why I'm like, every day I'm just like, in my job, it's just, my job is to tell people about all the opportunities that are around, it's like, or right now we're in, process of like hiring people. So I'm like really like trying to like, who wants to be here, and it sucks because too, like we lost a lot of staff because unemployment was going on, and like a lot of people were making more money off of unemployment than like having like a entry-level job. I'm like, that should say something about like our wages and how we need to, especially living in LA, like everything is so disproportionate. And that was just like, I got super into like politics, and at one point I was like, maybe I should just like run for like councilwoman at one point in my life, and really just like try to voice out all these concerns that I feel like not a lot of people are organizing themselves to really make a difference in like pay rates and all that. So I don't even know how we got to this topic, but
no, I mean, no, but
I'm just talking.
But it's good. But it's good though, Steph, because it's like, you really put yourself in a position to learn more and just be really aware of what's going on. You know what I mean? And you putting me up on game. You know what I'm saying? I'm listening to you and being like, man, like just some stuff that I maybe knew a little bit, but now it's like you putting me on. And that's good, because that's the type of conversations we need to have with everyone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know we're like, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. Okay, cool, for sure. But then that's it, but us having these like in-depth conversations is great. Even for you to be like, yo, I should run for, like for something. It's like, that should just say a lot of how passionate you are about helping your community and a lot of people.
It's like right in front of me, and then once again, that's the thing, it's like out of sight, out of mind. Like the only reason why I'm probably so involved is because I work directly with the public. Like it's in my face. Like every time I come to work, like I see the encampments, I see the people struggling, and like it's all perspective too. It's like I see people really struggling, and then I see other people complaining about them.
Yeah.
And they're like, why are they here? You know, if they're an
Yeah.
eyesore. I'm just like, they're just people like
Right.
struggling. But
Yeah.
then on the other side, it's like also there's been like criminal activity going on with like
Yeah.
the homeless. So
Yeah.
it's so ethical, it's so controversial, but that
Right.
like that's politics for you. And that's why, you know, if you feel really strongly about something, then you can voice it out. You can talk to
Right.
your councilman, you can actually make change. It's just about moving forward with your intentions, right?
Right.
Because so many people will like have an opinion, cool, but they won't do anything about it, right?
Right.
It kind of stops there.
Right.
But especially in the last year, because I'm like a city employee and like I get all these emails, I see like everything that's going on from the inside,
Yeah.
from like the city of LA. I'm just like, oh shit,
Yeah.
we got a lot of things to work on, LA.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and like that's
Yeah, a
what I'm
lot of things
saying.
to work on.
It's good that you say that because I could check Twitter and you could see all these things, but like you said, like you're in it. So it's good to hear a fresh perspective of someone who's in it, like because it's like if not, then like when I see a lot of stuff, it could be very overwhelming, you know what I mean? Just as a person, so for you telling me all these things, I think it's good. I'm glad that you're able to share all these some of the experiences that you have to overcome. And like you said, it's our perspective, for you even seeing like two different, type of situations where someone could be like, yo, this is the first time I've ever been homeless. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy when you think about that. You know what I mean? Somebody being like in a position of being like, yo, I'm homeless, due to COVID and, being able to overcome that, so now just at where you're at right now, do you feel that things are getting better, or do you feel like, do you see like a light in the end of the tunnel in a sense, or do you feel it's just has to keep taking progress day by day? Is that kind of how you're seeing it?
I think, I mean, change takes time.
Right.
And I think change, it's the intentions every single day. So it's a little
Mm-hmm.
progress every single day. So yeah, I have been taking it day by day. We still have like problems with, with people trying to get people housing and everything. But I do see a light at the end of the tunnel because we have been in communication with like LAPD, with
Right.
LASA, like all these other homeless organizations who are actually trying to do something for them and not just
Right.
kind of leaving them on the streets, leaving them to just kind of fend for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's cool to know that there's like other support groups that feel the same way that I feel, and who are in a position of power, like from like the mayor's office, to actually do something about it. And so I like had a meeting yesterday with a representative and letting us know that like the encampments that are going on at parks, especially,
Right.
they're gonna get social workers and they're gonna get people housed. It's
Yeah.
gonna take a while because it has to do like a whole application process and everything, but it's in process. It's so it's like, okay, at least we're doing something about it. We're moving forward, because I think I always get frustrated when there's just so much going on and there's just nothing's being done about it.
Right. Yeah.
So as long as I know that it's moving, it's like pushing the needle, then that's a start. And then you just got to continue on pushing, really.
Yeah.
It's an endless fight, but
but it's a fight, and I'm glad you're in it, and I think you hold it down in a great way. You know what I'm saying? Obviously you could tell that you're passionate about it, so I'm glad you're in it, you know what I'm saying? And thank you for sharing with us so much about just the insights of how that works and what we could do to just be better humans. You know what I mean?
It really starts with us. Like it really does. I think, kindness, kindness will definitely change a lot. And, of course, staying empathetic and compassionate, but also like to yourself too, like setting your boundaries, because I understand that I can also be in a position of danger when, in these situations, and like using my words as a form of like as a bridge of communication to really make progress in this community is super important. And once again, me, you, anybody who has a voice can literally do the same.
I love it. And in the midst of all that, you dropped the record, and I believe it was
that's music.
No, because I was like, I remember you dropped the record. I believe it's called Cielo, right? Cielo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So can you tell us how that song came about? Because it's a great record. So congratulations on an amazing
Thank
record. You
you.
know, so how did Cielo come about? You know what I mean? Like,
So
can you tell us how that happened?
I will definitely talk about it because, I'm just gonna get, personal and
Yeah.
vulnerable here, but because like quarantine, I feel like with a lot of like couples,
Yeah.
they either like got really close
Mhm.
or they're
Yeah.
kind of like grew
Got
apart.
rocky. Yeah.
You got kind of rocky, and so I was in a very fortunate position to really like fall more in love,
Right.
in our relationship and what it was, to a point where I'm like, this is literally like being with you is literally like heaven on earth.
Mm.
And so originally that song was a love letter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was a love letter, and I wrote it in English, and then it was supposed to be like in Spanglish, and then I worked on the record with my significant other,
Yeah.
and he was like, you should just do it in Spanish. And I was like, you know what, maybe I should. And so I
Yeah.
started translating, and I'm like, and it just flowed, it just flew, it's one of those experiences where sometimes songs take weeks, days,
Mhm.
months to make, and then other songs take like minutes. And
Right.
so that song literally just like it just fell through,
Right.
it's just.
Yeah.
And so I wrote that, and I was really, and like feeling this like Latin R&B
Yeah.
vibe. And so it was just, yeah, I wrote that love song, and like I think the pre-chorus was really like, all I want is all I have,
Right.
tú y yo pa eternidad,
Right.
and it's like, yeah, like if I were to die tomorrow, at least I know I was happy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's because,
shout out to your boo thing though. You know what I'm
yes,
saying?
true,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
We gotta show him some love too, because he was like, saying in Spanish. So, he looked out for all of us, the music lovers, to hear it in Spanish. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Oh yeah, and I think he's been such a great influence too. He actually,
Yeah.
was one of the first people to be like, have you ever considered like writing in Spanish? And I was
Mm,
like, no, like
right.
I haven't. And then he's like, I think you should like try. And then I
Yeah.
tried, and then all of a sudden like it just all fell through, and I was like, oh my god, like I think I found something,
Right.
right? and
Yeah.
and something that was mine, something that I felt like I could roll with, like this is
Yeah.
me, this is literally like, this is my artist project.
Yeah.
So
No, that's
yeah,
dope.
so that's where and then it's smooth, it's definitely like something you can drive like late at night and just
Yeah.
like vibe with. And like I
Yeah.
had lots of fun with the production too. I had like my roommate too, we were like in my little studio like doing backup
Yeah.
vocals, and that was such like a project, and it was fun. And then I had my other friend who was like playing guitar on it,
Yeah.
so I had all my friends on that record, as well as like my other friend who was playing cello. Like
Right.
it was just such a true collaboration, and like I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for my friends, and I love them dearly that they're so down with my ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so it's and that's kind of what my music is becoming, is really like a collaboration between all my favorite musicians who are also like my friends, who you know are giving me their time and their energy and their
Yeah.
talent to be a part of my music, which is so special. So actually have a show if you want to come.
September
That's
23rd.
September
Boom.
23rd.
Boom.
There you go. You already know. You already know.
So September
So
23rd.
yes,
Okay.
so that
Okay.
I'll be performing that song a lot with other other originals like Ecstasy and Ansiedad, with like a full acoustic band. And and once again, this is going to be like my first official show as Nia Padilla, which is
Yeah.
going to be really fun because I'll be showcasing a lot of the music that I've been working on during this last year and a half. So I'm excited. It's like I feel like I'm like blooming into the person I was always meant to be. So
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I think it's just seeing you, just outside looking in, just you growing as an artist is
mm,
something dope to see, right? Because it's like you said, you writing in Spanish, like that's you growing. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like just being able to do different type of music, that's amazing, And I know that you had a show like around July, right? Like
yeah, I
that
did.
was that your first show, like in person since quarantine, or and how was that just for you? Like was it just
Oh
this?
my God. It
Yeah.
was like I didn't really like promote it too much because I was nervous. I was like hella
Right.
nervous because I was like, oh shit, like this is literally like the first time I performed by myself, like me singing, you know. I had my friend who was playing guitar with me as well, and like I left that night feeling like replenished with like purpose, because I hadn't sang my own stuff ever at that point. And I just forgot how it was to be on stage, like you know. And I was like, oh shit, like I thought I was gonna be nervous, but then I got up there and I was like, hey everybody, what's going on?
It's just this energy just got in you, like
yeah. And I was just like, oh shoot, like I got all perky and I'm like, I got all happy, and I was like, yeah, like I can do this, like I know how to do this, like she back. You know?
We Bizak.
Like we're back, she's back, you know. It's like, new name, who this?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was really fun. So I'm trying to bring that same energy back on stage at the Hotel Cafe September 23rd. And it's actually really cool because I was a couple months before, I was like trying to like talk to like booking managers. And I'm like, hey, do you guys like ever do like Latin nights? Because I always wanted to, I think my struggle was just like, for example, with my music, I feel like it's very unique where like I can't just perform and then somebody who's like completely different than me, like right after me or before, like I need a, you know, you need like a whole vibe, you know, to really give the music justice. And so I was like looking out and I was like, Latin night, anybody who's looking to host? And I didn't hear back from this specific booking manager for a while. So I was like, oh shit, I was actually like depressed again. I was like, damn, I have like nothing going on yet. Right. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, getting back to you. Do you want to perform for Latin night? And I was like, yes. Thank you. And then, so that's happening. And I feel like once again, like I always spark up when I have shows like coming up, because it's like I have something to look forward to. And once again, it's like a culmination of everything that I've been working on. It's so that's exciting. I'm excited. And once again, I'm like filled with purpose again, and like with passion and motivation to like continue on when sometimes you don't feel as passionate and motivated. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. And the word you keep using is purpose, right?
And
I feel that that's something that I feel like a lot of us just as people, we struggle finding. I guess you're always trying to find your purpose, right? Like just being in this world. How would you feel you go about it where you're able to find your purpose? Obviously you work on music and your job, so you're able to have good foundations for your purpose. Like for someone that's possibly a little lost or just in a funk or just trying to figure it out, what would you say is the best way to go about into finding your purpose?
I think someone who is still kind of in the midst of finding themselves, it's definitely it's a lot of self-reflection, and it's kind of like knowing thyself. It's like analyzing the times when you don't feel your best, right? And it's like, well, like what situations are those? Maybe you want to avoid doing those type of activities that don't make you feel like you're 100%, or like being aware, like when you're smiling, when you're laughing, when you feel confident in something, even if it's like students, right? Because I work a lot with students and kids, it's like literally my goal and my job is to pique interest in kids, and help them find their own passions, right? Or like give them encouragement. If I see that they're doing really, really well in, in science and math or whatever it is, like, I'm like, oh my God, you could be a scientist, right? You could be a doctor, you can do this, you can do that, and just like, same thing with, young adults. It's just like, find that thing that really makes you feel confident and comfortable, and also find that thing that feels like home to you, right? Because there's just like my sister right now, she's 20, and she's in her, I think she might be a junior now, right? And so she's still like, oh, I don't know, I'm getting classes, right? I'm just like, be curious. I'm like, take something that you just never that you've just like, we're always just wondering or like fascinated by, even if it's like an elective, because you never know. It's like when you find that thing that literally just makes you feel like a kid again, almost, that's when you need to follow that path. Because I feel like a lot of people are like, who don't have passions, or they just kind of like, oh, or sometimes their passion is just leisure, right?
Right.
I also had that conversation where like some people just want a 9 to 5 and then like want to plan for their vacations and like their weekend trips. I'm like, that's awesome. If that's what makes you feel, great and like comfortable and stable in your life, by all means, go ahead. But if you want, to like live out your purpose and like find what you're good at, even if it's like, for example, I had this little girl who was fascinated with bugs during camp, right? And she was like, and everybody else was like, ew, like she's playing with spiders or with stuff like that, right? And she's like, oh, she's weird, right? But like I come around, I'm like, oh my god, how cool. She's like, oh, you could be like a scientist, or like I don't know what the word is, but someone who like specifically like studies insects. But I'm like, you could do that, right? And they're like, and she like asked questions about it. I was like, yeah, like that's, if I see that you're naturally interested in something, like, I will encourage you to follow that interest, because it's something that like comes within, it's not forced. I think when a lot of people feel forced into certain careers or like pathways because of parents or other pressures, or they think that they need to do it, that's when eventually they'll feel lost again, and they're like, wait, like why did I do this?
Boom, Steph, how do you answer it so good? I don't
I don't know.
It's like that was like the perfect answer. I read a lot of
self-help books.
Yeah. Like that was perfect. Like you can't even like say it again because of how good it was. You know what I mean?
I probably, I won't. Just like performances, like no one performance will ever be the same. Like their conversations, I don't even know. I don't even remember what I said like 20 seconds ago. It just
be like
out.
that. Yo, there's nothing worse than when you do that, like you saying something to somebody and they'd be like, yo, that was so good. Say it again. You're like, fuck, I don't even know what I said.
I just said it just needed to exist in that moment itself.
Exactly. well, Steph, man, I'm like, I'm so happy because I feel like you dropped so many gems, and I appreciate your time so much. And I'm so happy to see you grow as an artist, as a person, and just what you're doing for the community is so needed, especially during these times. You know what I mean? Like, and before you get out of here, like, so what's next for you? Just as Steph or as Nia, like, is there any little goals you have or long-term goals? Just what's next in your agenda, I should say,
Yeah. So for Estefania, for Steph, continue to, be a really great asset to my community.
Yeah.
And for Nia Padilla, it's just to keep releasing music. I have currently, a song that's getting mastered right now, and I'm really excited. It's another fun one that I'm really, really happy with, that I collaborated with my best friends at this point. And it's just continue to create music and just pushing it out for the world, because, life's too short. And like, if I'm gone tomorrow, I want my music to live on. So
true. So true. Well, Steph, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your knowledge in so many things. And shout out to your boo, you know what I mean? Because if it wasn't for him, that love letter would not be written and Cielo would not be created. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the closeness you guys had during these times, because it was so crazy during all these times, So thank you for your energy. And I appreciate it. I'm so happy for people to listen to this episode and just be more informed in a lot of things. And your energy is always welcome. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know we were trying to figure out a time, so I'm just glad we're finally able to just.
I was like, it was gonna happen. It was gonna happen at one point or the other.
It was perfect timing. It was perfect timing. So thank you, Steph. I appreciate it.
Thank you, JB Drop. Hey, the homie. Like I said, you've been like day one since like so long. I don't even remember like when we met, but I just knew that you were just so real. And every time we got together, it was just, once again, it was just like this, we're really talking about real shit that matters in this life. And, I think it's really important to continue to have those conversations with people around us, so we can continue to uplift each other and try to make today better than yesterday.
Boom. That's gonna be my outro every time I have this podcast. It's just every time. That's gonna be my outro. Boom. There it is. I'm gonna just record it. Thank you so much, Steph. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.